Hello everyone, and welcome to the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Care Network. I'm Dean, the host of this channel, and also the host of the Unmasking the Narcissist channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you about narcissism, understanding the narcissist, and understanding the narcissist disorders. But today I'm going to be presenting to you episode 94 of the N.A.R.C.N network, and the title of this episode is Post Narcissistic Stress Disorder. So what we're going to be doing today is we're not going to be really talking so much about the narcissist today and about what they do. We're going to be talking more about stuff pertaining to victims and what they've endured with narcissists, and in particularness this post-narcissistic stress disorder, which of course is closely related to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which a lot of people also suffer from when they have traumatic events in their life. Many different people suffer from PTSD. Commonly, military people after deployments suffer from PTSD, but PTSD is a situation or a problem that just about anybody can suffer from, that goes through some type of stressful situation in their life with anything. But P.N.S.D, which of course again is post-narcissistic stress disorder, this is a thing that's very closely related to narcissists themselves and what actually happens to their victims. And it's very similar to PTSD in a lot of aspects, in the sense that it causes a lot of stress to narcissistic victims because they've endured some type of abuse from their narcissist in some particular manner. But along with the general things that happen in PTSD, which of course is anxiety, stress, sleeplessness, it can be general malaise, it can be a feeling of just not feeling well, feeling unsure, mood swings, just general instability with a person. All these things are present in P.N.S.D as well too, but there's some other things that are prevalent also in P.N.S.D when you have narcissistic abuse that aren't directly related to PTSD. And some of those things that are prevalent in there are the factor that when you're dealing with a narcissist, because of the way that they are with you, with their behavior, very often and in many cases, a lot of the narcissist's behavior can actually wear off on their victims, and their victims can in turn become very disassociated with things, with their family and people around them. They can become very untrustworthy with other people around them who they may have formerly had good trust situations with, because the narcissist causes such a level of distrust with individuals around them, and in particularly with their victims, because once victims realize that they're dealing with a narcissist, they realize how up and down the lives that they have with them can possibly be, because of course narcissists are very, very up and down in their behavior with people, and this affects their victims in very, very adverse ways, because part of the narcissist's psychological manipulation with their victims is to put their victims on an emotional roller coaster ride of up and down, so the victims don't know what's coming next. And of course this affects narcissistic victims very much in the same way that it affects PTSD sufferers, except it's even more intense and more specific in a lot of ways from the narcissist, that it's not specific necessarily in PTSD. And of course this depends on the type of PTSD that you might be suffering from and what the causes of that actually were. But again, in P.N.S.D, when the narcissist is affecting you, they're affecting you with even more intense specific things that go on in there, like for instance their imbalance that they have in themselves. The narcissist is usually a very imbalanced person, and that imbalance rubs off on you and affects you in those ways too. Excuse me. And in turn, victims of the narcissist start doing things like mirroring the narcissist in their behavior, because the narcissist is actually training you, or training their victims, to do that slowly, and you kind of adopt some of the things that are going on with the narcissist, and you start mirroring them in some of those behaviors, and people can pick up this behavior from the narcissist and start to have real trouble with themselves with those things as well too, and this affects the narcissistic victims in very adverse ways. And it's also part of P.N.S.D. and the stress disorder you have after a narcissistic incident. And this stress disorder is just as severe, or can be more severe than even PTSD in its nature. Sometimes, if you have military personnel who have experienced very, very atrocious things within their jobs, at war with countries or at war with people, and they witness very, very, very intense things that have affected them of a very unhumanistic nature, they develop very severe forms of PTSD that mess with their lives in all kinds of ways. Like I was saying before, being sleep deprived, not being able to be confident, being anxious constantly all the time, being worried about things, just a general malaise in their life with their minds and with their state of being. P.N.S.D. affects victims in exactly the same way, but in some different ways. Like I was saying, commonly victims of narcissists start to mirror their narcissist, and they start to take on their behaviors. They become detached. They become uncaring because of the abuse that's going on with them from their narcissist. And P.N.S.D., when it affects a narcissistic victim in this way, can be very, very, very intense and turn a person's life completely upside down. And if you don't have a good mindset or a good grounding in the first place, and you have narcissistic abuse, this can turn your life into absolute hell. And we see this happen with narcissistic victims all the time. I have many narcissistic victims on my channel who talk to me and tell me how messed up their lives are, and how they feel like they've adopted behaviors that their narcissist put on them. And how do they get out of these behaviors? Why are they doing these behaviors? And all this particular stuff that goes on with that. I'll go into these particular behaviors perhaps in a part 2 of this particular episode. But what I basically wanted to explain here is how P.N.S.D. affects people in the very similar way that PTSD does. And of course it can affect victims' lives in intense ways, where they can't trust people anymore. They don't trust people around them. They don't trust the narcissist, of course, because the narcissist is doing very intense things to them. And because of that, the things that they go through just completely upset their lives and turn their lives completely upside down. And they have to try to figure out how to make heads or tails of what's going on with the narcissist in their own lives at this moment, especially if the narcissist is now departed, or they've cut ties with them, or they've blocked them, or knocked them out of their lives. Because of course at this time then you're left with the situation of it being just you, and having to deal with all that trauma or turmoil that the narcissist has put on you at that particular point, and all that entails with your mental state, and all that can affect. So this was just a brief thing of what I wanted to talk to you guys about concerning Post Narcissistic Stress Disorder. I'm going to do a part 2 on this as well too, so you guys will actually get some other information in here. I'm going to include some more in-depth details about how these things affect narcissists in more particular ways, and we'll go into that in part 2. But this has been basically part 1 of episode 94. It's basically just an introduction to post-narcissistic stress disorder, and we'll go into it in some more detail in a following episode after this. So I'm going to say to you guys, I hope you guys have an awesome day. I'm going to be coming up with some new episodes on both the Unmasking the Narcissist channel and on the N.A.R.C.N network. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you very soon in some new videos. Please stay tuned to my channel. I'm going to have lots of great new information coming up for you guys. Have a great day.